here. Because I'm the strongest there.
In the early stages of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, distribution deals with various studios were essential for releasing films. Paramount distributed key titles like Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America: The First Avenger, while Universal held the rights for The Incredible Hulk due to its prior production of a Hulk film directed by Ang Lee. Louis Leterrier, the director of 2008's The Incredible Hulk, had ambitious plans for a sequel that promised a darker and more intriguing narrative. In a recent interview, Leterrier disclosed his creative intentions, revealing his desire to introduce both the Grey Hawk and several Red Hawks. Hawk's character, one that contrasted with some of the lighthearted elements introduced in later MCU phases. The discarded sequel's potential for exploring these lesser-known Hawk personas would have been something that fans never got to witness. In this video, we will explore why The Incredible Hulk should not be forgotten as a movie, the reasons Hulk never gets a solo movie, Leterrier's exact plan for the sequel, and also the possible plot of The Incredible Hulk 2. Let's smash, shall we? Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. 1. Was The Incredible Hulk truly an incredible movie? Edward Norton's Hulk made a decent $263 million at the box office, of which $134 million was domestic. Now, while that's acceptable for a movie, it was not even half of what the first Iron Man movie made in the same summer. So what went wrong? Was The Incredible Hulk a bad movie? Or there's more to the story than that? Well, written by Zach Penn and Edward Norton and directed by Louis Leterrier, the film now seems to be largely forgotten, at least by the casual movie lover, if not the longtime comic book readers. The primary reason is that Mark Ruffalo replaced Norton, and Ruffalo signed a 6-film deal with Marvel, while Norton was not willing to sign a multi-picture deal. Additionally, Mr. Norton was later described as a control freak, and Marvel just couldn't see eye to eye with Norton. The result? Norton was kicked out for a more complacent actor. I am not saying Ruffalo is a bad Hawk or something that we had to settle for, but Norton was something quite amazing as a Hawk, especially a Hawk on the run with a lot of emotional and personal baggage. Since then, Ruffalo has appeared in 5 MCU movies, if we do not count his Iron Man 3 cameo. So while some may feel that Norton's film should better be put to rest, I am here to give you a slightly different perspective and more food for thought. What worked for The Incredible Hulk was its focused approach towards handling the character. It was an equal part thriller, horror, as well as drama, but at the same time, the film dealt exceptionally well with treating the Hawk's unpredictable and dangerous nature, something that doesn't sit well with a Hawk that takes selfies with young fans. Norton's Hawk was more beastly and rather deformed than just being overgrown and green. To be honest, the present MCU doesn't entirely know what to do with their green monster hero. In one film, he's out of control, and in the next, he's docile. In one film, he can transform whenever he wants to, and in the next, his condition seems like a metaphor for impotency. But Leterrier's film did not suffer from all of this. It knew exactly what it wanted to do with its hero. Then we got Tim Roth's Emil Blonsky, an aging soldier who loves getting a shot of a twisted version of the super soldier serum. Interestingly, he was mentioned in several releases of MCU and appeared in 4 episodes of She-Hulk. So you know, MCU probably doesn't entirely want you to forget the Incredible Hulk movie. Additionally, we had General Ross promoted to the position of the Secretary of State for 2 major MCU releases, and that screams that Marvel doesn't want to let go of Norton's movie. But what's more interesting is that there was news of a sequel to the Leterrier movie, which would have been directed by Leterrier himself. But before I get into the plot details and the future prospects of the movie, let's explore why it was canceled in the first place. 2. Why was it canceled in the first place? What do we know about the story of that canceled movie? The initial conflict arose during the post-production of The Incredible Hulk and was largely attributed to the creative differences between Norton and the studio. Norton had a strong creative vision for the character and the movie, and he clashed with Marvel Studios over the final cut and the inclusion of certain scenes that he deemed important for character development. Director Louis Leterrier mentioned that there were significant deleted scenes, possibly totaling up to 70 minutes. The disagreements between Norton and Marvel escalated to the point that a meeting between Norton and Marvel executives reportedly turned into a heated argument. These tensions were aggravated when details of the conflicts leaked to the media. This led to speculation and questions about Norton's future in the role, which cast a shadow over the promotion of The Incredible Hulk. By 2010, as preparations for the first Avengers were underway, Marvel officially announced that they had decided to part ways with Edward Norton. The statement released by Marvel indicated that their decision was based on the need for an actor who would would better embody the creativity and collaborative spirit of the ensemble cast. Following Norton's departure, Mark Ruffalo was cast as Bruce Banner, aka the Hulk, in the Avengers and subsequent MCU films. Ruffalo's portrayal has been well received by audiences and has become a significant part of the MCU, but there's still more. Despite the Hulk being a popular character, the Incredible Hulk did not perform as strongly at the box office as expected. The film rights to the Hulk character were complicated due to Universal Pictures holding the rights for years to make the Incredible Hulk. Marvel Studios and Universal Pictures reached a deal where Marvel financed the film and Universal distributed it. Universal retained the right of first refusal to distribute any future solo Hulk movies. This arrangement presented challenges, particularly after Marvel Studios was acquired by Walt Disney Pictures in 2009. If a sequel were to be made, Universal Pictures would have had the decision whether to distribute it, and Disney might not have been willing to support a competitor. But what hurt Marvel Studio more was sharing the earnings. If Universal distributed a Hulk movie, Marvel would have to give half the money to Universal. However, that would not be the case if they simply made a movie with Hulk as a supporting but important character, just that they'd have to name the movie after some other superhero, like Thor. While Marvel Studios didn't produce a direct sequel to The Incredible Hulk, they found ways to continue the character's story within the MCU. Plot points, characters, and unresolved storylines from the film have been incorporated into other MCU projects, such as the appearance of Thunderbolt Ross and the inclusion of Abomination in different films and series. 3. Let's find out the plans of Louis Leterrier for a scrapped sequel of The Incredible Hulk. You see, Leterrier, who recently held the directorial reins of Fast X, had a lot of great ideas for his sequel film. In a recent interview, he revealed how he wanted the Grey Hawk and Red Hawks. Yes, plural. So, that could have been fun to watch from a darker perspective, you see. He did not quite like the fact that Hulk was doing yoga and getting drunk and stuff, which I have to agree, doesn't quite go with who the primeval Hulk is. I mean, this guy is supposed to be a magnificently wrathful and rageful hero who strives to stay away from getting into his superhero form because he knows the collateral damage he might do. So, Louis Leterrier's primary issue with Ruffalo's Hulk was that he was a bit too kiddish and very, very far away from what Leterrier had in mind. This guy was playing with the conscience and consciousness of the Green Wonder, but Marvel wanted too many heroes, and too fast, and that's something no one can deny. Phases 1 to 5 of Marvel came in quick succession and brought innumerable characters. No, I am not trying to complain here, just stating the fact of the matter. 4. Like Loki said, do we have Hulk? To be honest, it would be quite interesting to have Hulk alongside Grey Hawk, which is a serious version of Smart Hulk, and an ensemble of multiple Red Hawks. Because of the legal issues that Universal and Marvel are facing, the latter did not really dive into the complex nature of Hulk and his several versions. The superhero has several different layers to himself, making him more than someone who only knows how to smash things. But unfortunately, that's what MCU has made out of him, and fans can only hope that this oversimplification of this marvelous superhero changes sooner than later. A minor ray of hope came in the form of She-Hulk, attorney at law, but even here, Hulk's character had not evolved into something more than his previous MCU iterations. Having said that, there are rumors that Harrison Ford may take up the mantle of Red Hawk in Captain America: Brave New World, and that Liv Tyler may return to the MCU as Red She-Hulk. For those who do not know, Red Hawk is actually General Thaddeus E. Thunderbolt Ross. So, he blamed the Hulk for taking his daughter away, and later getting married to her. Ross went through a complete breakdown of the recurring failures at capturing Hulk. He tried everything in his command, and went as far as recruiting the Abomination on 3 occasions to capture Hulk. Nevertheless, later on, Betty, Hulk's pregnant wife, passed away, and Hulk blamed the Illuminati for the loss. He wanted to kill the members of the Illuminati, but the superhero groups, like Avengers and the X-Men, joined hands and sent Hulk to another planet. Ross had lost his purpose now that there was Hulk on Earth and his daughter was dead, which was when 2 villains named MODOK and a leader convinced Ross that Hulk would be back. They siphoned off Hulk's powers using satellites and turned Ross into the Red Hawk. He was as strong as the Hulk, with the only difference being that he could transform to and from his Hulk form at will. Later, Hulk returned, and they would fight again. Hulk would initially get defeated, but he later managed to get the upper hand on Red Hawk. But what about the Grey Hawk? Well, the Grey Hawk has an interesting real and fictional backstory. When the character of Hulk was first conceived, he was supposed supposed to be gray in color. However, due to some printing issues, they had to settle for the green color. Many years later, a Greyhawk would be brought to life in the comics. Now you should know that Bruce Banner has at least 5 different personalities living inside him, one of which is called Joe Fixit. As a child, Bruce would watch a lot of crime and thriller movies involving mob bosses. His obsession was coupled with the idea and anticipation of life as an adult, and eventually, these two things merged, and one of his personalities became that of a mob enforcer. So, the mob boss would call in this guy about certain issues and ask him to fix it, which is how Joe got his name. So, the Greyhawk is Bruce's mob enforcer personality, who didn't take shit from people. In fact, Greyhawk was inspired by Frankenstein's monster and Mr. Hyde from Jekyll and Hyde, and appearance-wise, he somewhat resembled Solomon Grundy from DC. If Leterrier ever got to make his sequel film, I think the story should follow Ross's transformation into the Red Hawk and his fight against Greyhawk. Meanwhile, Bruce would also struggle to keep Greyhawk in check, which is Bruce's only alter ego that takes over and controls him when he is Bruce. Where does Red She-Hulk fit in? Well, she could have helped Ross initially, but after realizing that Bruce was a victim of his own mind, she would have switched over to Bruce's side. Now that was my take on the whole thing, but I implore and welcome you to put in your ideas on the plot. And you never know, maybe someday you could see a Hulk story on the screen and remember how you thought exactly the same all those years ago. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.